Welcome to the Church of the ChargeBlade. This is a quick guide on how to use the ChargeBlade. I'll be splitting this up into a few sections to make things easier. First will be points about the HUD and functions of the weapon management. Second will be weapon combos. Third will be about guard points. Finally, I will answer some questions I usually get while streaming. And since you brought up streaming, if you have any questions or just want to hunt, I stream fairly often, starting at about 8 p.m. Eastern over on Twitch. So hit me up there if you have any additional questions that I do not answer in this video. The link is below in the info. First thing I want to go over is the ChargeBlade's modes and general gameplay loop you'll have to get somewhat used to while playing ChargeBlade. ChargeBlade requires a lot of weapon management. There are two modes. First is the sword mode, which gives you a sword and shield. It's a fairly safe mode to be in since you have the ability to block and decent mobility. The second mode is axe mode, which changes the sword and shield into a large axe. This mode will be where most of your damage comes from. Although you lose the ability to block, the animations are slower, and you do not have as much mobility. Now let's talk about the HUD. As you can see, there are a few icons in the top left of the screen. The first is the sword icon, which will light up when you charge your sword. I'll show you how to do that later. With the sword charged, you get Mind's Eye on the sword, so it will not bounce, and you deal a little bit of extra damage when you hit. Also, if the ChargeBlade is impact files, you will also be able to KO the monster with your sword. The second icon is the shield icon, which will glow when powered. While your shield is powered, you will have better guard and deal a little bit of extra damage back to the monster on perfect guards and guard points. Again, if you have impact files, this will add to the KO on the monster. The third icon is the Savage Axe mode icon, which will glow when activated. This allows for multiple hits on each of the axe wings if you hold the attack button. To enter this mode, you need to either use your focus attack to pop a wound, mount the monster, and again pop a wound, or you can get to it from a perfect guard. The last set of icons are your files. These will glow yellow and red as you hit the monster in sword and shield mode. If you keep hitting the monster after the files are red, eventually they will pulse red, and you will constantly bounce until the energy is stored. To store the energy, you can do this by pressing right bumper and B on the Xbox controller to turn the file icons white and allow the gathered energy to be used. These files will also be overcharged by storing additional energy into them once they are white. This overcharge is used to deal additional damage on attacks that use files. To use the weapon efficiently, you will want to be in sword and shield mode to gather energy for files, and then use those files to power up your shield and axe attacks. Then dip back into sword mode to gather more energy. All right, let's get into the combos. I'm gonna do this in real time without a script, so if I miss something or don't explain something fully, again, hit me up on Twitch, and I'm happy to explain things in between hunts or do some demonstrations if you need it. So first of all, for sword mode, for ChargeBlade, as you can see on the left side, there is a basic sword combo. This is not very efficient for charging files, but you're going to do some decent damage in sword mode with it. It starts off as YB for your forward slash, and then YY for your return stroke and round slash, and then finishing it up with a shield thrust. So now, if your sword is charged, you'll deal additional damage with this, of course, like I mentioned earlier, but you don't have to start with YB. You can do a weak slash also if you do not want to move forward, and you don't even have to do the shield thrust at the end. You can go right back into your combo. So round slash there, and then just keep pressing Y, you'll keep repeating that combo. So if you want to actually start to really charge, now let me do it on the dummy here so you can see about how much you get file-wise. As you can see, you're not getting a whole lot of files. Let's just load those for later. Now, if you want to charge your files fast, you're going to want to use your B to do your charge attack. After this, you can press Y to do your round and repeat. Overcharge my files. All right. If you don't, as you saw there, I didn't fully let it charge. Load those again. You just do just one. Doesn't really charge files, but if you need to stop mid-charge, it doesn't hurt. You still do a little something. All right, so if you press B again, it does nothing. Until you get back to your ready stance. All right, so loading your files, as I mentioned earlier. Once you have yellow or red, gonna hold guard and press B to charge. Now, if you don't have any energy saved, so your files are not yellow or red, you'll shake but not do anything. This is a longer animation, so if you are trying to get into any of the further combos with your guard, it's better to at least have yellow files since it is quicker. Now, after you load your files, there's two things you can do after, I guess 3 things you can do after loading. You can press Y and hold it to charge your sword, then let off. This condenses the element in your sword, which if you have red shield, then you will charge your sword. To get red shield, easy through this combo, you can load the files and then just hold B instead, and you will load your files into your sword, into your shield. And then if you do the charge combo for your sword, sword's now charged. And as I mentioned earlier, you get Mind's Eye with this, and it does additional file damage on your hits. All right. The other thing you can do after you load files is you can tap B. This puts you in axe mode and gives you your elemental discharge 1, which starts your B combo for your axe mode. So, speaking of axe mode, let's get into that. You can get to your axe mode several different ways. So, from having your weapon away, you can draw into axe mode by pressing your RB button for an axe smash. From your sword and shield mode, if you press guard and Y, it does your morph slash. And you can also get there, as I showed earlier, from tapping B. So this puts you in axe mode. In axe mode, if you have files, you can do your Y combo, which is just rising slash, overhead slash, and repeat. With this, after your overhead slash, you can press a directional button to do fading. Go back. And run forward. Your B combo is going to be your Elemental Discharge 1, Elemental Discharge 2, and then into an Amped Elemental Discharge. Again, with files, you do extra pile damage at the end of those, but you do not do them at the end of your Y combos hits. That is just axe damage. So, your Amped Elemental Discharge, you can get to that several ways at the end of that B combo like I just showed. can also, from a standstill, YB. And the last way to get to that, I guess without guarding, or without guard pointing or perfect guarding, is after your shield thrust. So shield thrust, RB. That also puts you an X at the end of that. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Again, I'm doing this without really a script. So after Amped Elemental Discharge, there is further combos. So just your B. Again, Amped Elemental Discharge 1, Discharge 2, Amped Elemental Discharge, and then if you keep pressing B, you do a follow up, and then back into your Elemental Discharge 1. That is a new combo that is new to Wilds, the follow up after the discharge. While in axe mode, you can also press forward on your first attack for your discharge to get a running start to do the rushing elemental discharge. I think that is pretty much it for the amped elemental discharge. So to get to your super amped elemental discharge, because everyone likes more. First of all, in this game, there is no way to do it from a standstill. The only way to get to it through a combo is to do the amped elemental discharge. Oh, need red shield, by the way, for super amped, which had run out. All right, with red shield and files, do an amped elemental discharge, press Y and B again to do the super amped elemental discharge. This uses all of your files. If they're overcharged, you'll deal extra damage. Show you here real quick. All right, they're overcharged. Sharpen while I'm talking. All right, that pretty much runs the gambit for the combos. There's additional things. Let's see here. If you need a sidestep, you can do it after any of your sword attacks to get into a better position. Also from a standstill, if you need to sidestep, you turn on your focus and you can get one hop. Do two sometimes. Well, you can do more. Sometimes it turns into a roll though. All right. Also, I guess for your popping wounds, and this is to get into Savage Axe. For me, at least, it's left trigger and right trigger. I have my right buttons swapped. And that puts me into Savage mode. Now, in Savage mode, if you hold the attack button during your axe attacks, you do several hits. Combos follow the same. All right, and that is about it for combos. I'm sure I missed something. There is a lot of different shortcuts and other things you can do. I think I got most of them, but that should get you started. And again, if you have any questions, hit me up on Twitch. All right, now with the training dummy trying to kill us, we can talk about guard points, what they are, what they're used for, what you can do after them. So a guard point is anytime during your animation where your character's shield is in front of them. If you get hit at this time, it will count as a block. Your shield is powered up. You'll also deal additional damage back to the monster, as I mentioned earlier. And after a guard point, you can do things like go into an amped elemental discharge and a super amped elemental discharge. So, where are the guard points? There is a guard point at the beginning of your morph slash from sword and shield to axe. There's also one at the end, swapping from axe to sword and shield. See where the shield glowed white there? That is where the guard point is. You can also slide. There's one at the end, right there. There is another at the draw into axe mode. This one's actually my favorite. Really tight though, but it has saved me a lot. So what can you do after a guard point? Well, let's get some files. So after a guard point, we can do an super amped elemental discharge. This is the quickest way to get to a super amped elemental discharge if you want to do that kind of gameplay. Guard point, YB, super amped elemental discharge. Of course, you're stuck in that entire animation, so make sure there's a sizable opening, like the monster getting KO'd, or a long animation that they're in attacking someone else afterwards. If you want to do if you don't have enough time to do a super amped elemental discharge, you can bring it back into an amped elemental discharge. So guard point, back and Y during the super amped elemental discharge to turn it back into an amped elemental discharge. As you saw, that's a lot quicker, and I was able to dodge out of the way before I got hit. You can also follow it up with the follow-up after the amped elemental discharge if you need to, and go back into that axe combo. If you say KO the monster with the amped elemental discharge and want to keep going. Oh, so that was a perfect guard, not a guard point. That is pretty much it for guard points. On the perfect guards, since I just did one. Same with this. If you do a perfect guard, you can press Y to go into Savage Axe. This will give you your Savage mode. If you perfect guard and press B, whoops. You perfect guard and press B, you'll just do a normal charge, so nothing special there. And if you YB, you go amped elemental discharge. So your perfect guard is going to be a much stronger guard. As you saw, I didn't get knocked back there when I did the perfect guard, even compared to the guard point. So if you are on the ropes and really need to not get knocked back, then you're going to have to fish for that perfect guard. All right, that about wraps it up for important things to know in combos. Just to touch on a few things for just in general that I get questions about while I'm streaming about ChargeBlade. First of all, if you're running artillery on an elemental ChargeBlade, it's not helping. Artillery helps your impact files, so if you're going SAD gameplay, super amped elemental discharge, it'll help with that if you have impact files. But it will not help if you have elemental files. If you have elemental files, you're going to want to put decorations for that element on your gear. That will help your elemental damage for that. As far as decorations that are good for ChargeBlade, Burst works well with Savage Axe mode because those extra hits you do on your axe mode help activate Burst, which then increases your damage. Artillery, as I mentioned, is good for file discharges on impact charge blades and increases the damage on that. Let's see, what else is good? Guard is okay. It's not really needed though, at least unless you're just going pure SAD and really don't want to get knocked back on anything. Guard up isn't really needed in base game. There's not a whole lot of attacks that it's needed for that you can't just get out of the way of anyway. Thank you for watching this video. If you found it at least somewhat helpful, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I'll try to make some more Monster Hunter Wilds content for this YouTube channel. However, like I said earlier, I mostly stream on Twitch, so catch me on there and we can hunt sometime. Have a good one.